set? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry for the slightly late start. Welcome to the August 2025 edition of the Amherst Town Planning Board. Can we start with a roll call, please?
Shamil.
Here.
Davis.
Here.
Gil.
Here.
Khan.
Here.
O'Rourke.
Here.
Henderson. Raphael.
Here. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into the first issue here, just a couple of things to go over. The members of the planning board are volunteers appointed by the Amherst Town Board. We have final decision-making authority on site plans and subdivisions. We are advisory only when it comes to rezonings and comprehensive plan amendments. In that case, we make recommendations to the town board that has the final say. Few other things, procedures. With regard to any of the three items that we have on tonight's agenda that are going to have a hearing, the petitioner will present to the board. The board will ask questions and converse with the petitioner. The chair will ask if anyone from the public has comments or questions, and then you'll line up and do that. The planning board will ask the petitioner to address those questions. There is a laser pointer at the podium. I would ask you to, if you're going to point anything out, to use the screen on my right, your left, for that purpose. There's no testimony on the unfinished business aspects of tonight's agenda, and there are two items in that regard. Time limits, the petitioner has 15 minutes on that, and we are timing it. The first person from the public on any given issue is deemed the neighborhood or resident spokesperson, and that person will also have 15 minutes. That's the person who speaks first. Anyone else who wants to be heard on that from the public, your time limit is 3 minutes, and I would ask people to line up when it's time for you to speak so we know that you're going to speak on this. Okay, with that, oh, by the way, if in the event if there's an emergency of some sort, I'd ask you to once again go back out those doors and to the right. Don't come traipsing through here and trying to find the front door, which I came here earlier, was locked anyways. Not a good idea to go there. Okay, item number one is. Yep. Oh, we approved the minutes from last time first? Forgot about that. Okay, has everyone had a chance to read the July 2025 minutes? Are there any questions on the July 2025 minutes?
Move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve. Do I hear a second?
I'll second. Oh, go Joe. Joe is.
Second. I'll give that to Joe. Roll call, please.
Shamil.
Yes.
Davis.
Yes.
Gil.
Abstain.
Khan.
Yes.
O'Rourke.
Yes.
Raphael.
Yes. Passes 5-0. Okay, with that done, then we'll move on to the first issue, which is 5500 Millersport Highway.
Good evening. I'm Doug Faze. I'm with Community Wood Design. We did the site civil engineering for the site plan. Just to give a quick overview, this is a 4.98 acre site located at 5500 mile strip from Millersport in the town of Amherst. It's zoned commercial service. We are proposing a roughly 14,000 square foot building for office and warehouse. We meet the current parking requirements. We have on-site stormwater management. We got approval from engineering and the SWIP reviewer. We've submitted a sidewalk waiver, and we've addressed the remaining comments. We have public water on site. It's on our side of the road, so there would be no excavation of the public road. And we have on-site septic sewer system to handle the sewer on site. Happy to answer any questions on the site side of the project.
All right. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
No.
Mr. Davis?
No.
Mark?
No questions.
Joe, any questions?
No questions.
Carrie?
No,
The only question I
no
have, sir,
questions.
with regard to the sidewalk waiver, if there was a commitment on your part, if it was determined that it would be granted, but in the event that the town board wants to start developing sidewalks in the area, do you have a problem with building them at that point? future?
No, not in the future, absolutely.
Oh,
If it-
yeah,
yeah.
that's what I'm talking about. In
Right.
case it ever becomes a necessity, you'd be
Yes.
willing with a condition to do that in the future.
Correct. Yep, no
Thank you.
problem.
That's the question I had. Okay. Is there anybody from the public that has any?
I'm going to hand it over to Mike Burke, who did the.
Go ahead, sir.
Just real quick, want to go over the building component on the site. It is a proposed,
Sir, could you give me your name and your address,
yes,
please?
of course, sorry. Mike Berger with Sutton Architecture, 5409 Main Street in Williamsville.
Thank you.
Here representing the project for Stevens Plumbing. The proposed structure is a new pole barn structure for use in their as an office warehouse for their business, a plumbing business, and also some a rentable garage units in the back. The images on the screen there are the proposed elevations and color rendering option for the building. We're introducing some decorative base and then metal siding with a metal roof. Garage doors would be to the non-street facing side of the building, with the front being those windows facing Millersport. So between myself and Doug, any questions on the building or the site, we'd be willing to answer.
I'll open it up again. Any questions, Mr. O'Rourke?
No.
What's your John? Art?
No.
Joe? No questions. Carrie?
No questions.
Okay. You guys all set? Yes. Okay. All right. Anybody from the general public have any questions or concerns or want to be addressed at all? Hearing none, I'll close the hearing. Okay, item number 2 is 1692 Maple Road. Mr. Hopkins.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Planning Board. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, 1692 Maple Road LLC. Before I begin, I do want to note that this was presented to the Zoning Board of Appeals during its meeting on Tuesday evening. The adjoining property owner to the east, which is 400 Maple Road, Julian Shiana, expressed some concerns about variances. As such, I asked for that hearing to be left open so I would have the opportunity to meet with him. There's a couple modifications we may be able to make to address his concerns, which primarily dealt with utility structures. So we're not asking for a decision this evening. However, because the public hearing had already been scheduled, we'll give a brief presentation and then be prepared to address any questions that any of you may have. So with that being said, if we go next slide. Actually, can we just go to my slides? Here we go, next slide. So the site, as you recall, you took a look at this previously. It's slightly less than 1 acre in size, located on the northeast corner of Maple and Youngs. It was rezoned to OB by the town board in February of this year. What we're proposing is a 9,000 square foot, single story ambulatory surgery center and related improvements. Next slide. The survey of the project site. It is important to note this project site has frontage on both Youngs Road and Maple Road. Hence, it's a corner lot, which triggers increased front yard setbacks on both sides. Next slide. Aerial photograph of the project site. You can see the property owner to the east that I mentioned at 400 Maple Road, directly adjacent to the blue rectangle. Next slide. So one of the key aspects of this particular location is its close proximity to Millard Fillmore Suburban Hospital, which you can see is a very short distance to the west. There's other also nearby medical providers in proximity of the intersection of Maple Road and Youngs Road. Next slide. The site plan. Again, as I mentioned, it's a 9,000 square foot single story surgery center. It is important to note there's residential property to the north or behind us, and we've done the best to push this building up as close as possible to Maple Road. So it's nearly 300 feet or an NFL football field away from that closest residential property owner to the back. Because it's a surgery center, we expect it to be busy. So we are proposing 36 parking spaces. For screening, we are showing a 6-foot fence with landscaping along the eastern boundary of the site where that orange arrow is. The plan department did ask us to show a potential future vehicular access to the adjoining property at 1700 Maple Road, based on the fact that if and when that property ever is rezoned to commercial and then subsequently also redeveloped, that stretch of Maple Road in particular is very busy and it's close proximity to the intersection. So at that point in time, that property owner would have the right to connect into our driveway and then of course have direct access to Youngs Road. We were asked to provide 30 feet of permanent open space along the northern portion of the site. There's some pretty substantial vegetation there, and that will stay in place. Next slide. As I indicated, we presented this to the ZBA on Tuesday, and the real concern from the adjoining property owner was the proximity of that yellow area, which is where the utility improvements would be. That would include a transformer, a backup generator. So I have had a discussion with Pat Sheedy, the project engineer from Carmina Wood Design. He's going to discuss that with the utility companies, and if we can, we're going to move that further away from the adjoining residential property. Next slide. Elevation plans. The building has been designed by Carmina Wood Design, and it's typical of a surgery center, but it is important to note it does include diverse materials, and we think will look very nice at this particular location. Next slide. Lighting plan, important note, low-level lighting only, dark sky compliant, and most importantly, no lighting spillover onto either the two adjoining residential properties or Youngs Road. Landscape plan, extensive green space, 50%. Believe it or not, even though the site is less than an acre in size, we're planting 85 trees, 16 different types, 47 bushes and shrubs, 3 types, and 54 ornamental grasses. Again, I've discussed this with the adjoining property owner at 400 Maple Road and asked them if they have some input in terms of what they would like to see, especially along the common property line. We would take that into consideration and then, of course, discuss it with the town's landscape architect. Next slide. It's very clear this is consistent with the adopted bicentennial comprehensive plan. That was the basis for your previous recommendation in support of the rezoning from R3 to OB. And then the town board, in issuing its decision in February, had very detailed findings. And although it's tough to see, on the right-hand side, that's figure 6 of the comprehensive plan and does denote this site being appropriate for commercial office use, exactly what we're proposing. And these are just pulled directly from a planning department letter that was issued in March of this year, explaining the reasons it is consistent with the comprehensive plan and specifically various chapters therein. Next slide. So why are we here this evening? We're here this evening asking for site plan approval, although we're not asking for a decision this evening. It is important to note this has been reviewed and approved by numerous town departments and committees, including the engineering department, highway department, traffic safety board, et cetera, et cetera. You reviewed this project last during your meeting on February 20th. The layout is basically precisely the same layout you looked at that point in time, and you made very specific findings that this was consistent with the zoning code, was consistent with the comprehensive plan, and met appropriate criteria. Next slide. And then finally, this is subject to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We did submit a completed part 1 of the full environmental assessment form with our application. Due to the relatively small size of the project site and the overall project, this is what's known as an unlisted action. The town board has previously conducted an environmental review that concluded with its issuance of a negative declaration on April 28th of this year. We've provided a no impact determination letter issued by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation on December 12th of last year. It's also consistent with the zoning of nearby parcels and the existing use of nearby parcels. Next slide. The final topic I want to address is wetlands. Wetlands has become a much more difficult topic to deal with lately as a result of new regulations that went into effect in earlier this year. But it is important to note that we have a letter from Scott Livingston dated March 6th of this year, after those regulations went into effect, containing his professional opinion that there are neither federal wetlands subject to the jurisdiction of the United States Army Corps of Engineers or state freshwater wetlands subject to the jurisdiction of the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation on this site. So we're cleared from a wetland perspective. And in summary, it's quite clear this project will not result in any potentially significant adverse environmental impacts. So while you will probably not issue a decision till next month, at that point in time, subject to the Zoning Board of Appeals granting the requested relief, we will be asking for your consideration to issue a negative declaration and grant site plan approval. We need that as part of the certificate of need process for the New York State Department of Health. So we're committed to this project, and we're hoping it can move forward in a timely manner. If there's any questions that any of the members of the planning board have, I would welcome the opportunity to address them.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke?
I have no questions.
Mr. Davis? No question. Mark?
Nope.
Joe, any questions?
Any plans on making this building sprinklered? I see the fire department notes there, but there's no sprinklers currently shown.
Yeah, Mr. Raphael, let me check and I'll get back to you before next month.
Carrie, any
No
questions?
questions.
Is there anybody from the public that has any questions or concerns or wants to address this? Hearing none, I will close the hearing. Item number 3 is 1350 Eggert Road. Mr. Hopkins again.
Yes, good evening once again. Sean Hopkins on behalf of the applicant, 1097 Group LLC, care of Ellicott Development. Also with me is Tom Fox, the Director of Development at Ellicott Development Company. If we go to my slides, just skip over these. So this is another site that you've seen before. It's located at 1350 Eggert Road. You saw it in a different context. If you recall, in 2023, we were proposing a multifamily project there. Ultimately, we presented to the town board, and the town board chose to go a different direction, and that direction was a youth center project that will be for the benefit of the town and its residents. If we could skip to the next slide. Couple more. There we go. Next slide. So the site itself is 3.61 acres in size. It formerly was the Canneletian School that Ellicott Development purchased in 2013. Subsequent to that, it was rezoned at our request to what's known as OBTNB1. A site plan for what's existing there today, which is 38 apartments in that existing building, was approved by this board on June 19th of 2024. And additionally, a portion of the project site, which I'll show you in a second, was previously donated to the town of Amherst for an extension of Eco Park, which is located here. So just to highlight various aspects, what we're proposing again is a youth center building, 7,750 square feet, which would be located here. We are also showing at the town's request a potential future outdoor sports court, which is the smaller green box. That area that's been highlighted in purple, that's the land that was donated to the town of Amherst at no cost. And then that area in yellow is an existing permanent access easement that provides access to the group home located directly behind the project site. Why that's important is, of course, we have to keep that in place based on this project. Next slide. This is the project we presented to you originally. Again, was 2 multifamily buildings, 16 units in size. It did require rezoning. Ultimately, when we again presented this to the town board approximately a year ago, they chose to go a different direction. And that's why we're here this evening in connection with what we're currently proposing. Next slide. Drainage plan. It is important to note that we will be implementing drainage improvements in connection with this project. Those will comply with the stringent stormwater quantity and quality requirements of the DEC. This is the engineered drainage plan pulled directly from the set of plans prepared by the project engineer, Pat Sheedy from Carmina Wood Design. That does include some catch basins. Historically, when we previously presented the other project, there were concerns about runoff from the site and its developed condition down into the park. We've made improvements so that that will not occur. And it actually does occur today because of the age of the back portion of that project site. Next slide. Landscape plan. The plan department did ask us to include some landscaping directly in that land that we've previously donated. So we will be providing that for screening purposes. And then as you can see, there's extensive landscaping proposed on all 4 sides of the building and throughout the green space that will be provided in connection with this project. Next slide. Just a planting schedule again to show the degree of the various plantings that we'll be providing. Next slide. Floor plan. This was designed by Silvestri Architects. It is important to note that in terms of the floor plan and the overall building design, we've basically collaborated with the town. They've signed a long-term lease, so in a sense, they're a partner in this project, so they've been very involved in the entire design process. Next slide. One additional approval we're asking for, which will require Mr. Ulatowski's review, is what's known as alternative parking plan. On the site today, per the zoning code, we would need 103 parking spaces for both the multifamily project that exists and the youth center. There are currently 87 parking spaces on the site. We did retain the services of Passero Associates, specifically David Cruzy. He provided recently an alternative parking analysis showing that the peak demand is only 58 spaces, resulting in a surplus of 19 spaces. So if you're inclined to grant site plan approval this evening, of course, that would be an acceptable condition that Mr. Ulatowski would have to review and agree with that analysis. Next slide. Elevation plan. Again, building has been designed based on input from the town, including the town's architect. Tom actually has a sample of the building materials in terms of what we're proposing on the exterior, if you'd like to see them. Tom, I don't know if you just want to show that real quick.
Yeah, thank you. Tom Fox, Ellicott Development Company, 295 Main Street, Suite 700, Buffalo, New York. What's proposed in the building is called spec brick. It has a clay masonry appearance to it. But what it is, it's available in various sizes. It's not a thin brick as it's shown here. It's a full masonry unit. But what's nice about it is it has characteristics of load-bearing characteristics for construction. So it allows us to be more efficient with our exterior wall construction. We don't build a steel wall to carry bar joists, so on and so forth, and then build a masonry veneer on the outside. We're able to build this masonry wall and have it carry the roof structure, carry the roof joists or the bar joists, whether we carry the flat roof on the building. So something we've had great experience with. We've used it on close to 20 or 30 projects to date. It looks great, looks like brick in the end of the day, but again, has those structural characteristics that simplify and make for more efficient construction. Thank you.
Go to the next slide. It's also important to note that this project as well is consistent with the adopted bicentennial comprehensive plan. In this case, figure 6 of the plan, which is on the right-hand side, denotes this appropriate as mixed use. And again, this is a youth center that will benefit the town and its residents, including that immediate neighborhood. That determination was made by the town board. There's a need for such facility in this area of the town of Amherst, which is generally older and less opportunities for recreation. So that's a good aspect and a long-term asset for the town. Next slide. Seeker. So again, this is a relatively small project. It is an unlisted action pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. We did submit a part 1 of the full environmental assessment form. The planning department issued a lead agency letter on June 28th of this year. That 30-day comment period expired on July 28th of this year. We provided a no impact determination letter issued by the New York State Office of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation, dated July 18th. And in summary, clear as day, this project will not result in any potentially significant adverse environmental impacts. And as such, the issuance of a negative declaration is both appropriate and justified. So with all that being said, and based on the extensive documentation we provided during the lengthy review process, we are asking you to issue a negative declaration and approve the site plan subject to appropriate conditions. And again, if you have any questions, either Mr. Fox or myself would welcome the opportunity to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Rourke, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Hopkins, I've been trying to figure out this easement for the group home. And I don't know, is that building on part of the easement?
No, we're actually staying outside the 20-foot easement area. You want to go back, Gary, to the...
Okay, well, I've been trying to figure that out, and it looks
One
like
more, I
they're
think.
contiguous.
One more. There you go. So it's a 20-foot wide access easement. It was in place even before Ellicott purchased this property.
Right,
In 2013, it runs here.
right,
And our building, while it's close by, does not touch that easement area at all.
okay. It's awfully close.
Right.
Okay.
And I just also want to note, in connection with the previously proposed project, Tom and I engaged in discussions with the group home. They were okay with that. So obviously, I think they'll be fine in connection with this proposed project. So
Okay,
they know
thank
we're
you.
preserving that easement area.
That's all I had.
Mr. Davis?
Yes, I have a question about the parking. You gave a fairly, I think, convincing reason of why you need less parking than maybe required by zoning or regulation. But I notice you have not presented that as a variance.
So good question. So Mr. Ulatowski and myself have discussed this many times. And Dan, you can chime in, but I believe the plan department's current policy is they prefer that to be handled versus as an alternate parking analysis. That gives them more discretion to require us to revisit it in the future if the uses change compared to a variance which would run with the property in perpetuity.
Is
And,
that,
and I agree with it.
we don't need to put that as a condition?
I believe it is listed as a condition that I have to approve the proposed alternative parking analysis. I've yet to review it. It is based on two methodologies recognized in our statute, the Urban Land Institute methodology and the Institute of Transportation Engineers methodology. And Mr. Hopkins is correct. That is our preference, rather than it going to the zoning board, should they grant relief through a variance that runs continuously with the property. I have the right to ask for a analysis of this alternative parking analysis should there appear to be problems in the future that there's inadequate off-street parking, and then I could outright deny the previously approved analysis and then ask them to provide adequate off-street parking. So it gives me a lot more discretion and authority should the alternative be pursued. The variance, if that were approved, then we're hamstrung if there should be inadequate off-street parking in the future.
No, thank you. As I said, the explanation that Mr. Hopkins provided, I thought was quite reasonable. I was just wondering why it was not requested as a variance, and I thank you for your explanation.
And part of the reason we're very comfortable with that analysis is, again, this property's now been owned for more than a decade. And if you drive behind there, which I sometimes do see the backside of this building, there's always a surplus of parking. So based on what's there today, we have a ton of extra parking. And while we could squeeze in some additional parking spaces on the site, that of course would come at the expense of green space and simply is not necessary.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Joe, any questions?
No questions.
Gary, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Hearing that, I see there's somebody from the community who wants to be heard. How are you?
I'm not really well versed on politics, but I'll give you a little background.
Can I have your name and address for the record, please?
I live at 215 Crosby. I've lived there since 2008. Before that, I grew up on
And what's your name, please?
Jody Snyder.
use the microphone.
Yeah, could you,
My name's Jody Snyder. I sent an email. I grew up on Hendricks. I went to Eggert Road School. I know all about the planning that went on in this development of single-family homes from 1929. And it was supposed to be an area full of green space. I grew up when Eggert Road had a full backyard full of green space. When 2013 it was sold, it got cut down to 50% of that space. And all around the neighborhood, the drainage has gotten much worse, okay? I live on an alley. I've noticed how many people drive down that alley to try to get to that group home. Now you're going to take out all their parking spaces. That little yellow strip is where they all park. That's where the people get picked up every day. I walk that alley 3 times a day. That little yellow variance, people park, they work there. This is where people get picked up to go to their day programs. Now you're telling me that that space is going to be limited, no parking is available there for them. Where are they going to park? Where are the EMS people going to come in if there's someone gets sick? Okay, that's number one. Number two, this should be preserved as green space. We fought this 2 years ago because we didn't want more development there. No one ever said there's going to be a community space there. Why do we need that? There's one on Bailey. There's lots of already built spaces that are empty in Eggertsville.
just interrupt you. I need you to keep talking to the
Okay,
microphone.
sorry.
I can hear you just fine, but we
Okay.
get complaints from people who watch online, whether they.
Okay,
Thank you.
so there's lots of places that are empty in Eggertsville that don't need a new build and on green space that could be leased. Why are we, as taxpayers, going to be providing money to a new build that's on space that we don't want, that's backing up to our neighborhood? There's already plenty of people, kids. What time is this place going to be open until? Who's going to be picking up these kids? Are there going to be buses going in on that little variance? Are they going to be driving in on my alley in the backyard? Are they going to be, Ellicott Development is a terrible neighbor. The southwest corner of that property is a dump. Kids sit there and drink. It's just covered with garbage. I clean it up twice a year. They're a horrible neighbor. They have another dump site on the other corner where I'm going to say it would be the northeast corner. They have a dump there. That dump is always overloaded. I sent some pictures. Now there's just those little peanuts all over the place because they were dumped there and they're not cleaned up. They're a horrible neighbor already. What's going to happen when this happens? So there it is. I don't know what else to tell you guys. I don't know how this happens. Why is this our community? I want the school. I want people to have fun. St. Benedict's brings their kids there. They play in that field. They have races. They train there. Why are we putting a building there? Who agreed to this?
All set? Thank you. Does anybody else want to be heard on this project? Sir, come up. If I could get you into the microphone, sir.
Charles Kalana. I live at 237 Crosby. We went through a whole debacle with Sacred Heart, with that gymnasium, about the parking. There was adequate parking for the gymnasium and everything. And then they got kicked out of that building at the corner by Spectrum for the parking. Now all of a sudden they had to dig out half of their grotto, maybe more, for the parking. They're parking all the way down Maynard, all the way down Crosby on the other side. And there weren't enough parking spaces for that project. Now you're going to tell us that there's enough parking spaces for this project. Where's the access to get into this building? Where's the access to get into the building?
What,
Where?
Sir, once you're done, Mr. Hopkins will address your concerns and.
Okay. I mean, I've been through this before with Sacred Heart. It turned out to be the biggest joke, variance on top of variance on top of variance. And then they ended up getting their way anyways because they had a high-priced lawyer that was on their board. And I don't know who else was on the planning board that had an association with Sacred Heart. Come to find out afterwards, their grandchildren went there. And now all of a sudden he's going to say there's adequate parking. They're going to knock out some parking spaces like Jody said. They use that alley to pick up people. These people are all handicapped. And I want to know how they're going to guarantee that they're not going to do anything that they're saying that they're doing. Because we already went through a guarantee with Sacred Heart, and it fell right through. So that's it.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else?
I just don't want this to fall on deaf ears because it happened already once. And that's all, we must have caught them on several projects as that Sacred Heart project. And they kept getting variance. They must have got 3 or 4 variances. And now this is going to happen again, another variance.
Thank you, sir. Does anybody else want to be heard on this particular project?
Hi, my name's Kevin Curry. Would just like to say I'd support the project. I think I hear the word.
Give me your address, sir.
4272 Roxbury, Williamsville. And I would support a youth center. Sat on the board of youth center, and I think we need more of that. I hear the word from a few neighbors about community, and a youth center is part of a community, part of a healthy community. And I certainly have full trust in the concerns expressed about parking that Dan and the board and the professionals would do right by that. I think a youth center is a perfect use in a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in this? If there's anybody else, I'd ask you to line up, then we would know you're ready to talk.
Hi, how you doing? My name is Rob Lally. I live on 36 Rosedale Boulevard. Can you tell me how long the town has signed up to lease this property for $28,000 a month? And how are we going to pay for that? And how long is that lease for?
Well, we're going to have the petitioners address your concerns. I'm asking you to get your concerns on the record and we'll have them addressed.
Okay, so that's it. I can ask the question, but I don't get an answer right now, correct?
I'm going to have the petitioner, Mr. Hopkins, his client, address your questions.
Okay. Okay, I misunderstood.
No, that's okay.
You know,
That's okay.
it wasn't clear to me.
I just want to make sure you have your chance to speak, okay?
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else on this one before these are responded to? That's it? All right. All right, Mr. Hopkins. You could address these concerns?
So I'll address the last question first in terms of the lease term. It's important to note that lease has been negotiated directly between Ellicott Development and the town board. It is a public document. I was not involved in the negotiation, but I believe it's a 10-year term with either one or two options for 10-year extensions, meaning anywhere from 10 years to 30 years. That is a public document available on the town's website. Obviously, that speaker did not know this board had nothing to do with that lease or negotiating the terms and conditions thereof. In terms of access, I just want to make sure it's clear. We're proposing to utilize the same access that's there today, that driveway. Again, it's an easement, but it's on our site. We have the right to use it as well. I think what maybe a couple of the speakers were asking about was, this is Maynard Alley that dead ends here behind the school, and there's bollards there. We're not touching that whatsoever. That will stay in place. It's a pedestrian connection, but a pedestrian connection only. In terms of when did this process begin in terms of taking what we were originally proposing, which was 16 multifamily units, and instead proposing this project, the youth center, that was announced during a town board public hearing by the supervisor. There were many residents in attendance. And while, of course, that does not mean that everyone was in favor of that, it did receive favorable reviews at that point in time, meaning switching from what we proposed, which was 16 multifamily units, to this particular community asset. So that decision has already been made. The site is zoned, and in terms of why here versus somewhere else, we think it's a great location, close proximity to Main Street, close proximity to residential neighborhoods, directly adjacent to a well-utilized park. And simply to put it straight, this project will not have any impact on the residential neighborhood. No access, and really the closest users are the group home and, again, Eco Park, which we've donated and collaborated with the town on. So I think we've addressed all the concerns, and I respect the fact that some people would prefer this not occur, but it is properly zoned. We've met all the site plan criteria, and we would respectfully ask that you approve it.
Thank you. Okay. I'll close the hearing on this. Finally. Does anybody need a break, or you want to move forward with the votes?
Board.
All right. Let's start with number 1, 5500 Millersport Highway. First, have a seeker determination. Do I hear a proposal, or do I hear a motion?
Move on the neg deck.
We have a motion for a negative declaration. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second from Joe. Roll call, please.
Shabelle,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
O'Rourke,
Yes.
Raphael.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. We have a request for a sidewalk waiver. That's the second vote we're going to take here. That's the stipulation, that includes the stipulation that the sidewalks may be required at the owner's expense in the future by the town board. Do I hear a motion with regard to the sidewalk waiver?
Move on the sidewalk waiver.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Shabelle,
Yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
Khan,
Yes.
O'Rourke,
Yes.
Raphael.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. And with regard to the site plan, we do have conditions. Could we have those read, please?
Number 1, that the consideration of signs is specifically excluded from this approval as they require a separate review and approval by the town. Number 2, that all dumpsters, trash containers, and all mechanical equipment, utility structures, multiple meter boards, generators, and similar appurtenances, including those which are mounted on any part of the primary structure, shall be appropriately screened with a fence, wall, or landscaping. Provide gate and dumpster enclosure and shall be enclosed whenever dumpster is not being serviced. Enclosure shall be high enough to screen the dumpster within. Number 3, that as-built record drawings, including location of utilities, be provided to the engineering department prior to issuance of certificate of occupancy by the building department. Number 4, that the review comments provided by the Engineering Department Sanitary Division in its letter of January 9, 2025, be addressed to the satisfaction of that division. Number 5, that the comments of the Stormwater Management Officer's letter dated August 5, 2025, be addressed to the satisfaction of the officer. Number 6, that the comments of the Engineering Department Engineering Services Division letter dated July 30, 2025, be addressed to the satisfaction of that division. Number 7, that the review comments provided by the Town Attorney's Office right-of-way agent in his letter of August 5, 2025, be addressed to that office's satisfaction. And finally, number 8, that the review comments provided by the Planning Department and the Zoning Enforcement Officer in the Planning Department letter dated August 6, 2025, be addressed to the Department and Zoning Enforcement Officer's satisfaction.
Thank you. We've heard the conditions. Does everybody understand the conditions or have any questions or want to discuss the conditions? Hearing no, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Joe, is there a second?
I'll second.
Carrie's second. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes.
O'Rourke? Raphael?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Thank you. All right, moving on to item number 2, 1692 Maple Road. There is a request to adjourn. There's a seeker determination and a site plan determination. Let's start with a motion to adjourn seeker. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn Harb. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Joe. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes.
O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Same vote with the site plan request to be adjourned. Do I hear a motion?
Move to adjourn.
Harb moves to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second?
Second, Joe. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
No, you are.
O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes. Passes 6-0. Okay, let's move on to item number 3. 1350 Eggert Road. Seeker determination first.
Motion on the neg deck?
Motion to approve the neg deck by Mr. O'Rourke. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Carrie. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes.
O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. And on to the site plan, we do have, looks like 7 conditions. Could we have those read, please?
Yes, and just would like to note that the first one actually has a typo in it, but I'll get to that as I read through it. That the petitioner satisfactorily address the comments of the zoning enforcement officer and planning department staff listed in the planning department letter dated August 12th, not the 21st, 2025, to the satisfaction of the officer and department. That's petitioner. Number 2, petitioner satisfactorily address the comments in Amherst Fire Chiefs Association letter dated August 21st, 2025, to the satisfaction of that association. Number 3, that the petitioner satisfactorily address the comments of the engineering department sanitary division letter dated August 15th, 2025, to the satisfaction of that division. Number 4, that the petitioner satisfactorily address the comments in the engineering department engineering services division letter dated August 21st, to the satisfaction of that division. Number 5, that the consideration of signs is specifically excluded from this approval as they require a separate review and approval by the town. Number 6, that all dumpsters, trash containers, and all mechanical equipment, utility structures, multiple meter boards, generators, and similar appurtenances, including those which are mounted on any part of a primary structure, shall be appropriately screened with a fence, wall, and/or landscaping. To provide a gate on a dumpster enclosure, and that which shall be closed whenever the dumpster is not being serviced. The enclosure shall be high enough to screen the dumpsters within. Number 7, that as-built record drawings, including location of utilities be provided to the engineering department prior to issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the building department.
Okay.
That's it.
We've heard the conditions read. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or want to discuss the conditions? Hearing none.
Move on the site plan?
Propose to approve the site plan?
Yes.
Do we hear a second, please?
Second?
Second, Joe. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes.
O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. All right, item number 4, which is 80 Creekside Drive. There is a request for a 2-year extension of site plan renewal, which will be retroactive to May 18th, 2025. Do I hear a motion?
Move to approve the extension.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second, Harb. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
Yes.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
Yes.
O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
Yes.
Passes 6-0. All right, and finally, on 1780, and it's item number 5, 1789 Dodge Road. We have, there is no seeker that's already been determined on this. Before we get to the conditions, let's first get to, there is a waiver that is being requested with regard to the street stub. This is a request for a waiver. Do I hear a motion on this?
I move to approve the waiver.
Move to approve the waiver. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Davis. Roll call, please.
Shamil?
I will vote no. Let me place my opinion and reasons on the record for that purpose. I think it is functionally difficult to require the construction of a street stub if and when in the future it is determined that there's going to be a connecting street to that. I think it's best done now rather than in the future. So those are my reasons for voting no. Continue with the roll call, please.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill?
Yes.
Khan?
No. I also vote in concert with the chairman with the rationale for voting no.
O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
No.
Okay, so hold on one second here. We have it's 3-3. Am I wrong with that? That's 3. Is that 3-3?
So the effect of that would be nothing. 3-3. You don't have a full 4. You need 4 votes. I don't know if someone wants to try and make another motion. But as of right now, you're taking no action on this.
Thank you, Mr. Alba.
So can I propose that it's bollarded off, but curb cut be present and grass be put in its place?
Grass instead of
Asphalt,
asphalt.
with a curb cut be present.
That would change your vote if everybody agreed to that. Is that your proposal?
That's my proposal for the revote.
Okay.
So it would be the curb cut,
No paving.
but no paving. So it would be present, there would be no house or structure there, but in the future, it could be paved if necessary.
I think in fairness, there's no proposal for a house or anything there to begin with. So that's fine if you want to do that, but I don't think it's already taken care of.
Gotcha.
In answer to this question, town code prohibits any single-family residents from taking direct access from a stub street at the terminus of the stub, so they couldn't do that on the lot that's south of here.
There's no access currently, like we talked about, onto that street for
Yeah,
either of the residences.
if they were to build the street to the property line, the parcel south cannot take direct access to it to build a house
Correct.
by town code.
To clarify, the paved area would be the entire width, I guess? It would go all the way to the property line under the current recommendation from the planning department. And was there ever any discussion of a compromise that,
What is being presented by the petitioner on the plan before you is what is being presented with the waiver. There's not proposal to construct the pavement to the property line. We are recommending that it be constructed. If you look at the illustration, the petitioner is proposing the curb radii with a short termination.
and, okay, I understand that. And is there an opportunity to get a fourth vote one way or the other? Well, what I'm saying is, if he's showing a curb cut and coming in 10 feet, and if it came in to say that cross line, would that make anybody any happier? Because obviously it's fait accompli if it's halfway there anyways. If they come back to make it a cut through, I don't know. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here, but
So as it's shown, it's not paved the whole way. So you do have a green space element lined with trees.
right,
And it's not going to be utilized by either resident on either side,
right.
other than for, call it community activity.
Easter egg hunt,
kids
whatever.
playing,
yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So as it's shown, I think it satisfies my desire for it to be present for future.
And I agree with that,
But you voted the opposite
again, there's
direction.
some no's that would need to weigh in maybe, and is there anything that they can see differently for the three people who voted no, or do we,
Clarification, Mr. Chairman. So if the waiver is granted, then this is what it will look like?
I'll accept without the trees because that would be completely and totally up to the highway superintendent.
The recommendation is that the trees not be planted, that those are coniferous trees. We prohibit coniferous trees in the right-of-way. They would have to be planted based on the street tree standards, which would be essentially one deciduous tree every 40 feet. So we've asked the petitioner to amend this plan consistent with the statute.
So I would propose vote to approve as shown with the curb cut and the radius and the pavement ending as shown for future connectivity if it there ever goes,
and eliminate the trees?
and go to a deciduous tree every 40 feet.
Okay. Is it, that a formal motion?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, let's put it succinctly.
Vote to approve as shown with the radius curb with the stub not to exceed what's shown on the drawing. The trees to be changed to deciduous every 40 feet to be in compliance with the DOT spec.
Has everyone heard and understood Mr. Raphael's proposal?
Yes, and I'll second it if he needs.
Mr. O'Rourke seconds that. Okay, roll call, please.
Shamil,
I'll change my vote to yes.
Davis,
Yes.
Gill,
Yes.
Khan, O'Rourke,
Yes.
Raphael.
Yes.
Passes 6-0. Okay. Preliminary plat. There are 8 conditions. Can we have those read, please?
Do we need a motion first?
Conditions include, number one, that no driveway access be granted to the stub street southerly from proposed sublots number 6 and number 7, and deed restrictions as such be filed with the Erie County Clerk's Office on those lots. Number two, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Sanitary Division letter dated July 30, 2025, and June 16, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of a final plat. Number three, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department, Engineering Services Division letter dated July 1, 2025, and April 10, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of a final plat. Number 4, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Engineering Department Stormwater Management Officer's letter dated June 16, 2025, and April 10, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that officer prior to submittal of a final plat. Number 5, that the comments raised in the Amherst Traffic Safety Board letter dated July 7, 2025, and June 4, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that board prior to submittal of a final plat. Number 6, that an address plan for the subdivision is approved prior to issuance of any building permits for homes within the subdivision as required by the Amherst Fire Chiefs Association letter dated June 2, 2025. Number 7, that the subdivision name and proposed street name be approved prior to submittal of a final plat. And number 8, that the comments raised in the Town of Amherst Planning Department letter dated August 11, 2025 are addressed to the satisfaction of that department prior to submittal of a final plat.
Okay, we've heard the conditions. Any discussion or questions about the conditions? Hearing no, do I hear a motion?
I move to approve based, including the, what was just read,
All right,
the conditions.
we have a motion to approve based upon the conditions as articulated. Do I hear a second?
Second?
Second, Joe. Roll call, please.
Jamil,
Yes?
Davis,
Yes.
Gill,
No.
Khan,
Yes.
O'Rourke,
Yes.
Raphael.
Yes.
That passes 5-1, but Harb, you want to, on the record, your reasoning for your no vote, please.
My views regarding this project are well recorded in planning board meetings since 2021. However, I will be glad to recount them. While I admire the persistence of the petitioner, continuing to proceed undaunted by neighborhood opposition, undaunted by failed motions in meetings of the board, of this board, and even some petition denials along the way, I cannot but see it as a persistent drive towards increased financial gains with callous disregard of the neighbors. Amherst is a wonderful place to live, and more people want to live here, a welcome trend. We thank developers like the petitioner here who make this possible, but at what cost? There has to be a balance between welcoming new residents and disrupting those who have lived here for decades and indeed generations. Yes, one can study the regulations, understand the fine print, cross all the T's and dot the I's, and carve out a circuitous path through all hearings, adjournments, and even denials, and come to the stage where we are today. Is it not the duty of the town to seek a fair balance for everyone, new and long-time residents? I understand the town board, it's their job for this balance. During the rezoning, the town board mentioned that it is only a rezoning, implying and saying it is not a plat approval, giving maybe the false hope that the planning board would be able to then work or decide upon the site plan. Now we are told that our hands are tied. Well, neighborhood and character are subjective terms, and by giving them expansive definitions, one can build almost anything, anywhere. However, any reasonable interpretations of the words neighborhood and character leave no doubt that this proposal retains neither the literal meaning nor the spirit of either. Thank you.
Okay. No, sir?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Passes 5-1. We have a director's report?
probably have a leaflet in your email about a land use leadership alliance training program put on by the
Is it a mic, please?
Base University Law Center. I would encourage you to look into this. It's a 3-day long training event. It's a long one, I get it. It'll give you credits that'll carry over for probably the rest of your terms and beyond that. But they're extremely, they're really good. And they're at the forefront of land use law in New York State. And so if you have an opportunity to look at it, I would consider it. I don't know whether you can take advantage of 1 day or 2. I'm not sure how that works, but Amy will have sent you or Roberta, one or the other, will have sent you an announcement in your email about it. And I would encourage you to take a look at it and seriously consider part of it, all of it, whatever you can possibly complete. Again, I'm happy to talk with anybody in the back about the training hours that you have. The last thing I would mention is the town did circulate a request for qualifications for the preparation of a comprehensive plan. As we've talked in the past, that's probably about a 18 to 24 month process. We expect it will begin early next year. We're going to go through some consultant consideration and selection over the remainder of this year, maybe early next year, and then get started after that with inventory and analysis and background information. I'm not sure what the makeup of what we call a comprehensive plan advisory committee will be. In the past, it is comprised of the entire planning board. That is then appointed as a special board by the town board to complete that project. So I can answer questions about that as well. That's coming up. And again, we hope to get started with that early next year. So beyond that, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Is there a way to find out if that 3-day can be segmented or?
It's not permitted to be segmented. I read the
Oh, did it say that?
information today, and it says you have to attend all 3 days.
I would say read what you read.
Out of curiosity, is that in person or online?
It's in person.
Person. Okay.
What I would do is I would take a look at it, and they're not going to give you a certificate if you don't take all 3 days. I think we would probably consider what you've gotten out of it and consider what kind of hourly credit you could get for that.
In other words, petition the planning department to ask for credit.
Correct.
Right.
If you
even though I
find,
don't
you know,
have
if you,
a diploma for my wall,
that's right.
another one. And I don't need.
Motion to approve your petition.
I gotta think about it.
Do we have an agenda for that, Dan?
You just have to look at the announcement. It came in your email today.
Today, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, please take a look at it.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn?
Yeah. Well, I have been advised, something we have to discuss or not, been advised that the next scheduled planning board meeting, it directly coincides with a home, is that a Bills home game?
Yes,
A home
sir.
Bills game, I should say? It's not an away game? I would assume that that game probably starts around 8:30 kickoff? Okay, 8:20.
Miami?
I'll be at the game.
At the game. Okay, so we're looking at 1, 2, 3 people missing right now. We haven't even asked. How's everybody over here? I don't have tickets for the game myself, I know.
I have tickets.
So, you need a ticket?
No.
The only chance we have of a quorum is if Brittany confirms, and she's not here to confirm. Are either one of you going to that game or have tickets to that game?
Not yet, unless they got an extra seat in his limo.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
He's one that you got a space in a limo.
I'll be the guy
luxury
hitchhiking.
box.
Limo, yes, the bus, I don't know.
Okay, well, what, yeah, is there options?
September.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at September 18th. Or do I have to check the calendar and we switch it to a different week? Yes, it is. 25th would be a DAB meeting if you're. So I could check the, like, department's calendar tomorrow and send an email to the board. See, like, just, we have to see if the room's available, if anybody else is using it, that kind of stuff, to switch it to a different Thursday. It would have to be the following Thursday, probably for our timelines to fit everything in.
So you look at potentially the 25th.
Correct.
I mean, I can make the 25th myself. Obviously, you guys got the living room you have to look into, so I'm good. Yeah,
Okay.
I didn't realize 3 people had tickets, so that's a danger.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a good idea to show before people here at most.
I would ask the doctor.
Yeah.
Let's go for a maximum.
5 is bad enough, let's not do 4.
You got a 3-1 vote, you're in the same boat.
Yeah, we have to do it unanimous to do anything at that point. That's the point.
So everybody here is good with the 25th?
Yes.
Okay, can confirm. I go home.
Right. Well, I can look into it tomorrow and send everybody an email.
It certainly looks
Is that
better
good
than
for
the
John?
18th.
Yeah, I won't. Should have this roof with dab. I don't think we have any.
The chair has already indicated it's willing to move that if necessary.
We don't have anything coming up for November.
There's nothing in the queue.
Unless you guys
Okay.
adjourn something.
Even if we do, we can always adjust the time of the day.
Right.
Left or right to kind of accommodate.
Okay. I will check with the availability tomorrow.
Oh, that would probably be.
The game that these guys are going to is the 18th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's why they're, we're at best gonna have 4 people.
I can't remember.
All right, motion to adjourn the meeting.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting to a date to be determined?
Motion to adjourn the meeting to date.
How about this one?
Second,
They just did.
roll call?
Camille?
Yep.
Davis?
Yes.
Gill? Ron? O'Rourke?
Yes.
Raphael?
Passes.
Take care. Good to see you again.